Welcome. Today we are going to look at the drugs used in the management of peptic ulcer disease. A peptic ulcer is a breach in the mucosa, and this commonly occurs in the duodenum or the stomach lining. It occurs because of an imbalance between the damaging factors and mucosal defense mechanisms. We're looking at the pathophysiology of peptic ulcer disease. A peptic ulcer is an excavation that forms in the mucosal walls of the stomach, the duodenum, or even in the esophagus. Peptic ulcer specifically occurs in the gastroduodenal mucosa. This erosion is caused by an increased concentration or an activity of acid, pepsin, or a decreased resistance of the mucosa. The damage of the mucosa decreases the resistance to the bacteria predisposing to the infection by a bacteria known as Helicobacter pylori. The causes and the defense mechanisms against peptic ulcers are highlighted in this picture, where we have the damaging forces, which are the acid, gastric, and peptic enzymes. It affects the mucous layer, and the normal defense forces by the body are the surface mucus of the mucosal layer, the bicarbonate ions, the blood flow, prostaglandins, and epithelial regeneration. The exogenous injuries that are prone to cause peptic ulcer disease are like Helicobacter pylori, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications, cigarette smoking, and alcohol. And some of the endogenous injury factors are like ischemia, shock, delayed gastric emptying, the gastric reflux, and the number of parietal cells which are present. So all these ones are responsible for the formation of a peptic ulcer. When we look at peptic ulcers and gastroesophageal reflux disease, we have a number of participating cell types. That is the parietal cells, which secrete hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factors. We have peptic cells, or the chief cells, which are known to secrete pepsinogen, the neuroendocrine cells that secrete histamine, the mucus and bicarbonate secreting cells, and prostaglandin secreting cells. Hydrochloric acid secretion is stimulated by acetylcholine, gastrin hormone, and histamine. And this secretion of hydrochloric acid is inhibited by prostaglandins and histamine. So let's embark into the pharmacology of the peptic ulcer management. In the principles of managing peptic ulcers, we have drugs which work in various modes, and one of the ways that we manage it is by the reduction of the gastric acid secretion. This reduction is effected by the use of histamine receptor blockers, proton pump inhibitors, and anticholinergic agents, for example, antimuscarinic agents. And the second methodology that we use is by neutralizing the secreted acid by the use of antacids, and promoting mucosal protection by use of cytoprotectants, for example, prostaglandins, bismuth, and sucralfate. And lastly, we can eradicate the Helicobacter pylori infection. Let us start with H2 histamine receptor antagonists. These drugs work by competitively binding and blocking the histamine H2 receptors, and this reduces all the phases of gastric acid secretion with no effect on gastric emptying. The examples of the histamine receptor antagonists are cimetidine, ranitidine, famotidine, roxatidine, and nizatidine. This can be remembered by a mnemonic grapharon. The pharmacokinetics of these drugs is that they have a rapid oral absorption and also parenteral effect. They are distributed widely into the breast milk and the placenta, and many they are eliminated through the urine. They are indicated in the treatment of duodenal ulcers, gastric ulcers, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and prophylaxis of the same. They can also be used as a pre-anesthetic agents in the treatment of Zollinger-Ellison syndrome and with oral enzyme supplements. The main adverse effects associated with histamine receptor blockers are hypergastrinemias and central nervous system effects, for example, headache and confusion. Patients can also complain of muscular pains, skin rashes, and cimetidine is known to be the only weak anti-androgen. When it comes to nizatidine, patients may complain of urticarias, somnolence, and sweating. They can cause release of histamine and bradykinin if infused rapidly. Let's look at one of the important drugs known as ranitidine. Ranitidine is an histamine H2 receptor antagonist which helps to lower the production of stomach acids. It was indicated in the short-term treatment of gastric and duodenal ulcers and was contraindicated with allergies and lactating mothers. So we use it cautiously with impaired renal and hepatic function and in pregnancy. However, this ranitidine was discontinued. The main side effect was headache, malaise, dizziness, somnolence, insomnia, tachycardias, bradycardias, rash, and alopecia, and is known to cross the placenta, entering the breast milk also. Cimetidine is associated with more side effects, which include granulocytopenias, gynecomastia, diarrhea, fatigue, dizziness, and mental confusion. This is one of the H2 histamine receptor blockers. Another type of drugs used in the treatment of peptic ulcer disease is proton pump inhibitors, and this work by blocking the hydrogen potassium ATPase, reducing the acid production by up to 95%. They work irreversibly in this production, in this blockage of the hydrogen potassium ATPase proton pump, and this pump is usually known to be necessary for acid secretion from the gastric parietal cells, and therefore by blocking it you reduce this acid production. They also block the transport of acid from the cells into the lumen. For example, meprazole reduces both stimulated and basal acid secretion. The drugs that fall into a class of proton pump inhibitors are omeprazole, esomeprazole, lansoprazole, and rapibrazole. The pharmacokinetics of the proton pump inhibitor is that if the absorption is rapid, they can be reduced by some drugs, for example soclarfate, and they are metabolized by a fast pass effect in the liver rapidly. Proton pump inhibitors are the drugs of choice in the treatment of Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. In GERD, it's used in the second line drug. We also use it in the treatment of peptic ulcers as first line, treatment of gastritis, dyspepsias, and also in the prevention of stress-related mucosal bleeding. The main side effects or the adverse effects associated with proton pump inhibitors are a dry mouth, hypergastrinemias, central nervous system effects like headaches, skin rashes, and a mild liver damage. Gastrointestinal disturbances and gynecomastia and impotence can also be specific in cases of omeprazole. Another type of drugs is known as antimuscarinic agents. The antimuscarinic agents work by blocking antimuscarinic receptors, and the examples of these drugs are like brenzapine, telazepine, which is more selective for receptors in the stomach mucosal cells. Telazepine is known to be more potent than its predecessor, pyrazapine. Other antimuscarinics we have are like mepenzolate and hyoscamine. The pharmacokinetics of it is that they have very poor central nervous system entry, and largely they are eliminated through the renal elimination. They are used in the treatment of duodenal and gastric ulcers. Another type of drugs that we use in the treatment of peptic ulcer disease is cytoprotectants. These drugs work by protecting the gastric mucosa and are used to enhance this protection and also provide a barrier over the surface of the ulcers. An example of a cytoprotectant is the prostaglandin analogs, for example misoprostol. And remember from physiology, the effects of prostaglandin E1 and E2 are in the stimulation of the secretion of mucus and bicarbonate. They also increase the blood flow to the stomach lining and inhibit gastric acid secretion. So these cytoprotectants have some of the common side effects like diarrhea and abdominal pain, and specifically of importance, they are abortifacients. They can cause spotting and dysmenorrhea, therefore they should not be taken in pregnancy. We have another type of drug known as sucralfate. This is a cytoprotectant, forming a viscous sticky gel in the acid environment and coating the mucosa, and it's known to cause constipation. By looking at the drug interactions, sucralfate chelates some drugs, reducing their absorption, for example phenytoin and digoxin. We have bismuth compounds. These agents, just like prostaglandin analogs, are described as cytoprotective agents. They enhance the endogenous mucosal protection mechanisms to the gastric lining, and bismuth chelate, such as tripotassium, can be used in the combination with other agents to treat Helicobacter pylori infections. The bismuth compounds chelate acts in different ways, like it can have a direct toxic effect on bacteria, stimulating the mucosal prostaglandins and bicarbonate secretion, adsorption of pepsin, coating of the acid ulcer base, and inhibition of Helicobacter pylori proteolytic enzymes. Some of the side effects associated with bismuth compounds are blackened feces, nausea and vomiting, and a darkened tongue. They are contraindicated in renal impairment and pregnancy. We have also antacids that we use to neutralize HCl. They may inactivate pepsin, and they are either aluminium compounds, magnesium, sodium hydroxide, or carbonates or bicarbonates, or even sometimes magnesium trisilicates. The comparison of the properties differ in their capacities, the rates, duration, and adverse effects. They're often prepared as mixtures. So antacids can either become as sodium salts, which are most rapid and most potent, therefore they are most absorbed again. We have magnesium and aluminium salts, which are lower and more sustained action. There are also some calcium salts which cause rebound, hyperacidity, and cations are absorbed, eliminated by the kidneys. Some of the side effects of the antacids are on the gastrointestinal tract, like abdominal distension, bulging, and flatulence. We have diarrhea that is commonly associated with magnesium salts, kidney stones in case of silica, constipation in aluminium hydroxides, encephalopathies and osteoporosis and even myopathies, hypophosphatemias, systemic alkalosis due to sodium absorptions, hypercalcemias and milk alkali syndrome in calcium salts, and bismuth salts are known to cause encephalopathy and arthropathies. When treating Helicobacter pylori, we use a duo and triple therapy in the treatment of peptic ulcers. So the H. pylori has been implicated in about 90% of the cases of peptic ulcers. Hence, the treatment involves the use of antibiotics together with other ulcer healing drugs. So this triple therapy comprises of a proton pump inhibitor in a combination with an antibacterial. For example, penicillins like amoxicillin, metronidazoles, tinidazoles, clarithromycin, bismuth compounds, and all those tetracyclines.